part two. Let's get it going. Okay, here we are, back on Jeff's Bronco 2. This would be part two, just picking up where I left off on the last video. I got a little bit of progress made since the last video was put up. I got valve covers all done. I got them bolted up. I got a bunch more parts picked up, on ordered. Some other things showed up. One of the big things, still can't believe that I got this. One of the big things I wanted to get rid of was this. This is what the truck showed up with. Your typical open element 14-inch air cleaner. It's all rusty, dirty filament. I can't stand these things. Not only do they just breathe hot air from the fan wash right off the radiator, the second the filter starts getting dirty, they just look like crap. The filter element looks like poop. I don't like them. They're terrible. So what I envisioned for this was, I would love for this thing, when you open the hood, for this thing to look more OEM. Like, this is how it came from Ford. That's just the look I like. I like things to look not modified. So I pictured this thing with a factory Ford air cleaner assembly. And what I really like is the Ford dual snorkel air cleaner assemblies they used on their, particularly the Mustangs of the early and mid 80s era. Really cool. I really like the 83 to 85 Mustang GT setups. They were a big 17-inch diameter dual snorkel setup. Unfortunately, firewall is too close in this truck to fit that one. But 1 year only, 82 GT had the 302 two-barrel, had a 15-inch diameter dual snorkel air filter setup. Probably pretty hard to find. Well, I found one. I can't believe I found one, and it was literally like 2 towns up from where I live, which is crazy. So I bought it. I got it. I'll insert some pictures here because I got so excited. I got it. I took it right out of the box. I test fit it because I wanted to make sure that it cleared the firewall. Everything fit the way I wanted it, and it did. So those pictures are here. Okay. So now you've seen how it fit right out of the box. Now I have to clean it up. I got to clean it up, paint it. The lid, I had to strip it. It's aluminum. It's got a clear coat on it. Clear coat was starting to peel. It was starting to turn yellow. So I stripped it with some aircraft stripper down to bare aluminum. I kind of polished it up with some 000 steel wool. Just kind of hand polished it, and I'm going to put a new decal on it, and I'm going to make it look. I'm going to change the look of it a little. I'm going to change the look of it a little bit. I think it's going to look really cool when I'm done, and I'll show you that. But anyway, here it is. So this is the lid now. I'm waiting for my decal to show up. I got to take the base. I got to clean it up and paint it. But this is going to look really cool on there once it's all cleaned up and painted. So very excited about this. Anyway, let me grab you guys again and show you what it looks like under here so far. So there's the valve covers. Got them all bolted up. Looks really good with the intake. Got the new distributor cap rotor on there. The next order of business is going to be, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm pulling everything off the front of the motor. Everything else looks kind of like poop. Alternator, water pump, all the brackets, power steering pump, all that stuff. Just Doesn't look good. So I'm going to pull all that off. I'm going to clean everything up, detail it, paint it. I'm going to pull the radiator out. Like I said, when I drained the radiator, I had to kind of poke around inside the petcock. It was plugged up and nothing would drain out of it. So it tells me there's probably some gunk inside the radiator tank. So I'm going to pull this out, clean it out, flush it out really good. I don't want this thing to have any overheating problems. So now is the time. Let's pull it off. Let's clean it out. I'll get it put back in. These fans are not the greatest. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a reproduction early Bronco plastic bladed fan. And then I'm going to put probably a 2-inch spacer on it to push that fan up closer to the radiator and actually get it underneath that shroud. And it'll pull air a lot better through the radiator, getting it a little bit closer. So that'll make that a little better. The alternator, I actually found a kit that's going to convert the alternator to a one-wire alternator. It's going to put an external regulator on the back side of that alternator, and it's going to allow me to eliminate this regulator and all this just crappy, taped up, just butchered wiring. So it's going to allow me to have one nice big wire that'll go from the alternator right to the solenoid for the charging system, and I'll just be able to clean up all of this. I also have a new fender liner coming to replace this butchered piece of crap too. So, and also there is hopefully today a new heater box coming. So let's get digging into this. All right, I got the EGR spacer. I took that, I eliminated the EGR valve. I made a block off plate, put a new gasket on that, bolted that all up. So that's done. Cleaned up the metal line that goes to the PCV valve, replaced the rubber hoses for that. I'm ripping off heater hoses. I'm not going to reuse these. I don't know how old these are. They're pretty hard. Yeah, they're pretty hard and brittle. They're literally as short as they could possibly be. I want to reroute these so they're nice, and I want to have them come over here attached to the fender liner, and then, you know, way out of the way, swoop over to the motor so they're not just laying right across everything pulled tight. So I want them to have them look a lot nicer anyway. So got the coil bolted down here. I'm going to leave the points ignition in it for now. It works. The truck ran, sounded fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that ballast resistor. I'm going to unbolt it. I'm going to move it way down here lower on the firewall. So when the air cleaner assembly goes on, you won't see it. So it'll be hidden. I know it's there, but it'll be out of sight, out of mind. So that'll look a lot cleaner. This thing here, so this homemade modified heater box, I'm going to get ready to rip this off. The new one that I bought should be here, should have been here yesterday, but hopefully it's here today. So I'll get this ripped off, and then I can get the new one, get it modified to fit around the valve cover here, and that will look so much better. And then hopefully in a couple days I'll have this new fender liner to modify all this. But I'm going to get to pulling everything off the front of the motor next now, so I can start cleaning up all that, get the radiator out, and then that'll give me better access to all the wire harness that goes across here. I can work on all that, get it cleaned up, figure out what's needed, what's not needed, and yeah, get all that cleaned up. So, all right, here's where I left off today. Started cleaning up the fender apron, valve covers bolted down, EGR spacer, pulled out the distributor. The thermostat housing was leaking, so I yanked that off. Of course, the bolts almost snapped off in the intake. They were all rusted into hell. So that was a fight to get those out. Cleaned up that little water neck, painted that up. Coils all cleaned up, painted, mounted. Got the little spark plug wire clips back on the valve covers. Got thermostat housing all cleaned up. POR 15. Distributor all cleaned up. Got that cast blasted. That looks very nice. Looks brand new. Like it. Distributor hold down, cast blasted. Looks nice. We're doing good. We're doing good. Fuel pump came in. We got that. So still gotta do the carburetor. Maybe tomorrow I'll knock that out, get that on. So yeah, oh yeah. Air cleaner assembly. I'll get this. I gotta start sanding down on that, get that base cleaned up and painted. Air cleaner. That's all stripped down, polished, about the best I can get it. Decal. And I gotta get this ready to lay on. So not a bad day. Okay. Alternator, the wiring, the mounting bracket, all of that is off. So all of that mess can be eliminated. I'm gonna go ahead and get this all cleaned up. And the cool thing is I got coming is this external voltage regulator that's gonna bolt to the back side of the alternator and gonna convert this to a one-wire operation, which will eliminate that and all of that. And this bracket, alternator mounted down here and hung down below it. This was either for a smog pump or the AC compressor. I'm not sure, but there was nothing here. And the heater hose went through this hole, made it really hard to get to the hose clamp for it. So because it doesn't have AC or the smog pump, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to cut this ear off of it. And it's going to not only is it going to clean it up and make it look better, but it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to deal with the heater hose. So I'm going to modify that before I clean it up and paint it. Got the thermostat housing. Got that all cleaned up. Painted in POR 15. I also water pump pulley, semi-gloss black. Got that cleaned up. That's what everything else is going to look like under here. So we got everything tore off here. So I can get to the fuel pump. I'm going to change the fuel pump. I got the new oil pressure sending unit to put on there so I can get the factory gauge working. I'll just clean up the factory power steering pump, clean that up. We'll put that back on. The water pump, I'm still undecided whether I'm going to replace it while I'm in here or just clean it up. I'm not sure. Probably the lower radiator hose. Probably go ahead and replace that while I'm in here because it's kind of a bitch to get to. Might as well. So, yeah. This side over here, looking better. A lot less wiring. I still have that mess in the corner to get rid of. But we're getting better. Better by the minute. So, okay. It's been a couple days. Back out here. I worked on it last night. Didn't film a whole lot. I just kind of came out here and knocked out a bunch of crap. But I did order a new water pump. Came in this morning. I immediately got it cleaned up and got some POR 15 on it. It's hanging up to dry. But I got the balancer cleaned up. Took the timing pointer off. Got it cleaned up, painted. Put a timing mark on the balancer. New fuel pumps on. Put the new oil pressure sending unit in it. And then the new water temp sending unit is already in the intake back here. So yeah, the plan is I'm going to get the factory gauges working in the dash. There's no point adding more aftermarket gauges to this thing when I can just get the factory gauges working. I think that would be a lot nicer. So everything's looking good here. Like I said, alternator's off. I did get all my parts for that. Getting some parts, water pump pulleys cleaned and painted. There's the modified alternator bracket cleaned and painted. I got some more stuff. So remember that ugly ass thing? Yep. Well, guess what finally showed up? There we go. Factory non-AC heater box. I'll go ahead. I got to slightly modify this to clear the valve cover. Or maybe I won't. I don't even know. With the way this body is mounted on this chassis, it might clear as is, but definitely got to clean it up. We'll get that looking factory fresh again. And get that put on. It's going to look so much nicer and better. And said new water pump. Got that drying. Power steering bracket. Like I said, everything I touch, I got to clean and paint it. I just can't put this crap back on looking the way it does. Old water pump. So alternator's off. There's the external voltage regulator kit to convert it to a one-wire setup. That's who it's from. There's a part number. It's $30. I mean, the hell. Might as well try it. So I definitely got to clean that thing up. It looks like hell. That should clean up fairly decent. Yes, I still have to rebuild the carburetor. I know I've said that like 10 times in 2 videos so far, but I will get to it probably before this video is over. So yeah, we're making good progress here. So yeah. So I got more parts coming. Okay, I got the alternator off. Got all the wire harness unbolted off the back side. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start cleaning this up. Bearing's a little noisy. I do have a friend that can rebuild these. I almost wonder if I should have him go through this first for me. Where does it end? Oh my God. No, I'll go ahead. I'm going to clean it up. I got the kit here. So this is going to bolt all on the back here. Then all I got to do is run a nice thick cable from this positive post right up to probably to the positive post on the solenoid. And that will keep the battery charged and keep the charging system going. Pretty cool little kit. I see there is 0 instructions. That's sweet. But she'll be pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to have to find some nuts here for all of these posts, but I'll figure it out. So anyway, looks like there's a little dial on the back here. I'm not really sure what that's for. Again, no instructions. Sweet. But anyway, let me get this. I'm going to start cleaning this up. See how good I can make this look before I go bolting that on. And we'll go from there. Quite a bit better, I would say. Step 1. Not bad. It's going to be hidden down the bottom of the motor. You're barely going to see it anyway, but I think that looks pretty good. That'll look nice. So there's the one-wire alternator kit installed on the alternator. Pretty simple. That little bugger there, don't need that. That goes to the indicator light in the dash if you had it. So all I have to do is just build a nice thick gauge wire that's going to go from there right up to the starter solenoid or the positive battery cable if you wanted to. So there it is. Now I can go ahead and get that installed. Okay, I'm back out here. Got all the pulleys back on now. Got the new fan. Got the plastic nylon 6-blade fan back on here. It's much nicer. Looks a lot more period correct. Alternator, that's all back on. I got this is the new power cable. This is going to go right to the battery terminal when I get around to getting that on here. Yeah, power steering pump is all back on. I got my belts. I'm going to get those all routed on here. Unfortunately, the fender liners that I picked up for this, they were not for a Bronco 2, so I can't use those. So I'm going to be forced to clean up and hopefully just repair this fender liner and just make it look better than what it looks right now. I'm going to have to reuse it and just clean up that whole corner here a little bit better, move some stuff around, and just do my best there. And then now I can go ahead and get this ugly heater box ripped off and get the new one modified and get that on there. And yeah, I still got to rebuild the carburetor too, so I might get to that too. So anyway, let's get into it. All right, I got all this crap out of here. There was this big plate that was mounted up here where all the relays mounted, and there was a cover on it originally. I got that out. Of course, there was no paint behind it. It was all factory blue, so I painted that. The battery tray, somebody cut this one side of the battery tray off, so there's nothing to hold the battery in. There's no hold down on this side. So I'm going to have to fix the battery tray so it'll actually hold the battery in it. I got a piece of angle iron cut out. I know what I'm going to do to fix that. Got all this wire harness crap out of the way. I got this piece of plastic pulled off of this. I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to fix the fender liner yet. But I'm in the middle of pulling off this heater box thing. There is just a bunch of these sheet metal screws shot into the firewall. God, I hope they did not hack up and modify. I shouldn't even say modify. I should just say hack. I hope they didn't hack up the firewall anymore to fit this monstrosity on here. So I'm going to get all these out and rip this thing out of here. Get all these stupid screws out. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's just do this. This is not going back in, so make my life easier. Let's just cut this. Oh my God. Somebody loves their blue Permatex. Holy shit, what a mess. All right. This is going to make it so much easier just to clean all this up and just make it look proper. All right, let me get that piece off. See what we're working with. Okay, they did not hack up the firewall, thank God. All right, I can work with that. So I just got to go in there, clean all that up, and I'll hit it with some fresh semi-gloss black like I did over here. Fix the battery tray so the battery has something to hold it down, hold it in place. I can get all of this wire harness out of here. The 60-pin connector is still on the other side of the firewall. I can pull all that out. One thing I got to figure out is the blower motor was plugged in, but there was no blower motor resistor, which controls the blower motor speeds. So I'm not sure what the hell they did for that. I know when the blower motor resistor is bad, it defaults to high. So maybe this thing only had the blower motor worked on just the high speed. Maybe they just like wired it without the resistor, so it only had one speed. I got to untape all of this mess and just see what's going on inside there. I can get rid of 90% of that. It's all the EFI stuff, which we don't have. Yeah, I still got to rebuild that carburetor. So let me get this firewall cleaned up, and then I can take this heater box. We can go ahead and test fit this. I may have to modify this corner. May have to be kind of cut out. And then I invert it so it ends up being a notch to clear that valve cover at the back corner there. I didn't think I was going to have to. I thought the body might have been high enough, but it still looks like I'm going to have to do that. And then that's where that blower motor resistor is supposed to be. And there's like 6 wires that would normally plug into that. And that ain't nowhere to be found on there. So they obviously hacked all that out. So I got to see how I'm going to repair that. But this will look, oh my gosh, so much better. If I can get this back in there. Holy crap. Hold on here, buddy. Man, I might not have to modify that. That might fit as is. I don't have it in there all the way, but man. Okay. I'm getting so excited for this. Okay, all right, let's get moving on here. I got to clean up and paint that, and then we'll figure out that if it's gonna fit as is or not. All right, I got the battery tray fixed. Just took a piece of angle iron. I just stitched weld it there to the end of the tray where they cut that off. So now the battery will be held in place. I welded a little nut on there so that now one of these little J hooks for a battery hold down can hook to. And the piece that goes over top the battery, I'll just make that out of some aluminum or something. Got the starter solenoid bolted back up where it goes. So yeah, next thing is I'm gonna rip that out and I'm gonna repair that melted hole in the fender liner. All right, I got the heater box up here. Okay, I got the heater box up here on the bench and I'm gonna modify this. I do have a video on my channel. It's back a couple years where I show the whole video is just how I modify these heater boxes. So I'm not going to go too far in depth on that, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out here. I'm going to cut this whole corner clean off this edge here. All this will get cut off. And basically this piece here, I'm going to take it and I'm basically just going to flip it and it'll go back inside this hole inverted. And then I just got to cut a couple pieces of plastic. I'll epoxy it in place. And I'll basically make a little notch that the valve cover will fit right in that place. And then this will still provide, when the blower motor's running, it'll still provide plenty of airflow into the firewall, into the interior heater box for all the heat and all the fresh air and everything. But it'll still basically allow me to put this on the firewall, and then if the valve cover ever has to come off the motor, I can still get the valve cover off. So minor modification, super simple. I'll get that all done. It'll get epoxied in place, and then I'll just kind of dust this with some semi-gloss black, and it should look fairly unmolested. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much depth. Basically, we'll just show that pretty much finished as of now. And boom. There it is, done. So that's what it looks like notched out. That's the same pieces of plastic that I cut out. I just cut them up, reused them in here. I just used some aluminum tape to hold everything in place while the epoxy is drying. I'll have to let that set overnight to cure up real good. But that's basically it. And that will clear the valve cover. And over here, what I've got done while that was drying, I ended up taking a piece of the fender liner that was not for a Bronco 2. I cut out a chunk. I cut out a big, I just cut out a 6x11 square hole that was cut out all the bad melted piece of that fender liner. Cut out a little bit bigger patch from the fender liner that was not for a Bronco 2. And then I just drilled some holes in the corner. I put some push pins in it. Then I just used a heat gun to warm up the plastic, and then I just kind of molded it in place, and I think it looks pretty good. Um, I don't think it's going to get much better than that. I literally used a Ford fender liner to fix it, so I got the wire harness all taken care of. I took the original, I cut the grommet off that wire harness and used that as a plug to fill the hole in the firewall. I just got to order a pigtail for that. I have the power wires that go to the interior. I got those hooked back up here. Like I said, battery tray is fixed, so I can literally throw the battery tray back in. I can hook up the grounds. I can hook those up. I have to replace the power cable that goes from the solenoid to the starter. I can do that. I can get the power wire from the alternator to the battery hooked up. And yeah, man, we're moving right along here. This is looking real good. Oh yeah, got to rebuild that carburetor. Okay, I'm back out here, but unfortunately, I'm already at my already over my self-imposed limit of 30 minutes per video on this deal. So I'm gonna be cutting this one right here pretty much, but I at least want to show you where I ended up. This side is pretty much done. Fortunately, I found all the wiring for the blower motor resistor. I just have to tie all that wiring in together there, loom it up, make it look real nice. Very happy about that. Battery is in. I'm making a battery hold down right now. I painted up. It's drying. So all this is done. That's all the wiring that's going to be over here in this corner. It looks so much better. So happy. I'll pull you down. I'll give you a little close-up look on how the heater box turned out. Still got to do the heater hoses, get those all routed, looking nice. Like I said, I'll pick up the next video. We'll get all the rest of this knocked out. I still have to dig into the wiring on the other side of the engine compartment. I got to find the wiring for the water temp gauge, oil pressure sender, and basically ready to start cranking this over and see if the fuel pump primes and if we got fuel going to the carburetor. So I got to rebuild that carburetor. I'll get that in the next video, I promise. And yeah, making good progress, but that's going to be the end of it for this video. But I'll just do a quick once over, let you get a close-up look of what I got done so far. Very happy. And yeah, let's take a quick one last look, and then we're moving on. All right. Here's where we're at. That heater box. See the little the notch I made to clear the valve cover. That looks so much better than that piece of crap that was in there. The rest of that, actually, here it is. There's that rest of that EFI wire harness they left in there. That's all ripped out. The only wiring left there is just for the blower motor. That's it. The one power lead that goes into the dash. I have all of that done. The battery's hooked up. I said finishing up the battery hold down. Starter solenoid. Got all the new wiring for the battery, the ground, power cable that goes down to the starter. It's looking good. We got all new hoses, all new belts, the new fan. I said I just got to address all that crap over there in the next video in the carburetor. So that's it. So that's it for this video. Tune back in to the next one. The next video, for sure, I promise, this thing will fire up. And at that point, I can fill the trans with tranny fluid. We'll get this thing filled back up. And then I can finally find where the transmission is leaking from. And then that will determine the direction of the next part of this project on whether it's a tranny line, tranny cooler, I don't know, or if it's something worse like converter seal, pump gasket, something like that. I don't know. Tranny may have to come out. I don't know, but we'll dig into whatever we find next. So anyway, that's it for this one. I appreciate you watching. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, share it, all those things. Do all the things that help out. I greatly appreciate it. We will see you on the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.